I know for a fact, trying to go further than what your peers do, you become the most isolated, which is one of the scariest things ever.
We haven't got no organisation that's going to fight day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year.
Being equal, you just want to be equal. So
in Liverpool, what the council and what other people will do, they'll listen. Well, how can we shut them up? Basically, in layman's terms, all right, we'll put a plaque there just to silence us. Give us what we want. They think the matter goes away. It doesn't. Okay, so in the US, you've got several black organisations that can keep this movement alive. In the UK, you tell me one black organisation that's in the media coming out saying, you know, we're going to do this, that, putting us in a, say, giving us a route for direction. There isn't, not one.
How does that make you feel?
It's like the whole movement in the UK is pointless because we've got no sense of direction. It could be a political party, it could be anything, but we've got no people challenging the government, lobbying the government. Do you know what I mean? It's just people marching, and then once the marches die out, the movement dies out. We haven't got no organisation that's going to fight day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year for racial inequality, if you want to put it that way, which we're never going to get it as a black folk. But to make things better for ourselves, we haven't got that.
I've got to agree with Nathan to some degree. Obviously, I think that the marches and just the media kind of reflection of all the stuff has moved certain conversations further and stuff like that. But I do agree that the leadership thing is what I worry about here. I think, you know, I worry about it generally because I don't think there's been any major leaders anywhere in the world in terms of black people for a long time, but especially not in the UK. You know, in America, we could reel off 5 names now of people we consider leaders that have done amazing work since the 50s. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't be hard. You know, you got you know Malcolm, Martin, Marcus Garvey. You know, you can just reel them off so quick. And in the UK, we probably couldn't speak of anyone. And no offense to people like David Lammy and people like that, but they aren't really speaking. Even in the US, you can look at someone like a Jay-Z now and go, even him as a entertainer, you'd still class as a leader, but where's our version? Do you know what I mean? And obviously, granted, Stormzy has put some money down in that, but you know, you feel like he's writing a check, but it's not actually like, he doesn't speak for the people. He's not going to government and going, I'm going to sit down with Boris. And, you know, I rang Boris on the phone today and said, yo, you need to get this shit sorted. That there's no level of that thing, which is why I think, again, from the call yesterday as well, there's a level of a feeling like, yeah, you could be exposed because there's no feeling of, or it doesn't feel like that. It feels like, you know, you could say something in the press or you could do something, but there's no organisation per se. Do you know what I mean?
That can support you and back you. Because what if you have one person solely challenging, say, the government or these big institutions, they're not going to get listened to. You need a hell of a backing behind you, and no one's got that. There's no organisation out there that can give someone that, because there just isn't in the UK. And don't get me wrong, I think the protests are good. Yeah, I agree, it will move the arguments on. But then a case of, for example, in Liverpool, what the council and what other people will do, they'll listen, but then what they will do is, well, how can we shut them up? Basically, in layman's terms, all right, we'll put a plaque there just to silence us. Give us what we want. They think the matter goes away. It doesn't, because to move us on, it's going to take generations. And I know as a black male, there's never going to be racial equality for all of us, Janice, Jesse. It's just ingrained into our society. We're trying to change society. And if you ask me personally, to change society, a long time to change society, how people feel. There's a lot of work to do. One person try and do that on their own without a big backing or organisation. It's not fair.
People needed to get outside. People wanted to get outside. And I'm not taking that away from people wouldn't support it. But this is the first time we're seeing people from all different backgrounds join in and walk in. And I don't know whether it's because generations have moved on. If generations have moved on, we would be seeing it less, and we're not.
I'm not negative about it, but obviously I've studied history at university. I've looked into civil rights. It is a hard thing to do, to dedicate their lives to a cause, to this cause. It's going to be a lot, because when you look back in history, all the main people that dedicated their lives, they're either killed, they're put in prison. You know, it is life and death. And that's because the people at the top, the governments, they don't want, for whatever reason it is, they don't want black people to rise and to get stronger.
because a lot of the people in power, and predominantly white people in power, the way they view black people, who never viewed as equals anyway, you know. We're not even marching for equal rights per se. You know, sometimes we're just asking for rights, innit? Right now, the discussion is, can we go out and not be shot because we're black? Forget going into can we have an equal shot at the job of running a BBC or, you know, equal, because we've had those discussions, but right now we're back to the basic. This is going back to when slaves were freed in America and they said, don't lynch us. Can we just go about our life and not be killed for being black?
I've lived through racism, and I don't need to hear someone else's sob story about racism. It's like, it's time to try and make a change. It might not happen. You might not get the leaders. It might fizzle out in 2 weeks. But I think right now is in my lifetime anyway, I've never seen nothing like it. So I think this is the best time, but there needs to be a leader or leaders and some type of direction. England is built upon racism. America wouldn't even exist without it. So they're not going to give you equality when their systems don't benefit from it. If their system doesn't benefit from you being equal or us being equal even, then they're not going to give it to you. So you have to take it. So things like, not so much just boycotting things, but just moral values of things are wrong. No one's asking to be the Prime Minister or anything like that. We're just saying, look, if man gets stopped by the police, you don't shoot him, just speak to him like you'd speak to anyone else.
When the civil rights movement was going on, right, to shut the people in power, to shut the movement down and to shut us up, yeah, you can have the right to vote. Yeah, you can get on the bus. Yeah, you can get a job. So the problem now is black people feel that we're in a bubble where we've got, the only way we can move forward as a people is if we unite. And this is the thing, how can we unite? Because we've got some black people that are comfy, and let's take it away from sports stars, black people on 35 grand a year in comfortable jobs, people that are going the social, divided us by giving us everyday life things that we should be able to have anyway, and that's to get us together. It's very difficult.
Nathan, you know what? I agree, and that goes back to your first point. You know, if you know, I'm big into like Marcus Garvey. I'm actually working on a documentary on him at the moment. Yeah. And he had this ability to unify, and this is the 20s. Do you know what I mean? This is 100 years ago.
Yeah, the Pan-African movement.
Yeah, but he had the street people, and then he had the scholars, and he had the people who owned the businesses. So, because they had almost like a vertical understanding of the culture, that was their power. Where you're right, I think that, you know, some of these rich people, they will face racism, but in a very different way. But exactly, then there's people on the street that have got the energy and the fight, because there's no unification of it. It's not real power, is it? If George Floyd was Kendrick Lamar, now this would be a very different ball game.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.